While I was fighting for my life in a hospital bed, my parents gave away my 7-year-old daughter's kitten. They told her, "Your mom can't take care of anything." Then my sister added, "Be grateful you're not going to foster care." I didn't yell. I took action. 3 days later, their lives started to collapse. The first thing I felt was the plastic of the oxygen tube scratching against my nose. The second was pain, dull, heavy, like my bones had been swapped for bricks. Someone said my name. "Michelle, can you open your eyes for me?" It took effort, like peeling myself out of wet cement. A doctor leaned over me, tired but calm. "You're awake," she said. "That's good. You've been out a few days." A few days? That hit harder than the pain. "Car accident," she added gently. "It was rough, but you stabilized. You're in recovery now." I nodded, because my head felt too heavy to do anything else. I didn't ask about myself. I asked the only question that mattered. "My daughter. Where is she?" "Is she?" "She wasn't in the car," the doctor said. "She's safe. Your family was notified." Notified. Such a clinical word, like sending an email. She checked a few things, eyes, hands, how I responded, then told me someone would be in soon with my belongings and water, and left me to rest. As soon as the door closed, all I could think was, 3 days. 3 days they've been worrying. My mom must have been beside herself. She stresses over traffic jams. My dad must have been pacing the hospital lobby, harassing nurses. And my daughter, God, she must have been terrified. I braced myself for a flood of messages, maybe hundreds. When a nurse eventually brought me a little plastic bag with my things, I waited until she left, then reached for my phone. One notification. Just one. A grocery delivery app. I unlocked it. Message from Mom, time-stamped the day before. "Glad you're stable. We'll visit when we can. Rest." Rest. Like I'd sprained an ankle. Nothing from my sister, Alicia. Nothing from Dad. No missed calls. No, "Call me when you wake up." No, "We're here." No, "Is she okay?" Nothing. I blinked at the screen, convinced something was wrong with the phone. Maybe I was still drugged. Maybe the crash had knocked reality out of alignment. I called Mom. She answered on the third ring, distracted breath in her voice. "Oh, Michelle, you're awake." Not relief, not fear, not even forced cheerfulness, just, "Oh." "How's my daughter?" I asked. "She's fine," Mom said. "She's with us." "And everything is okay?" "We're managing," she replied. "It's been a lot, you know. We'll bring her when we have time." Time. As if visiting your daughter, the one who almost died, was something you squeezed in between errands. I thought you'd come," I managed. A pause. Then, "You need to rest. We'll see you soon." She hung up before I could say anything else. I lay there staring at the wall, trying to make that conversation fit into the world I thought I lived in. It didn't. The next day, I called again. And again, the same tone. Cold. Busy. Unbothered. Every conversation felt like I was interrupting something more important. Laundry, maybe. Or a show. Whenever I asked about my daughter, the answers were clipped. "She's fine. She's with us. She's a handful. We're doing our best." They never brought her. By day 3 of being conscious, the doctor said I was stable enough to continue recovering at home. Mom and Dad didn't offer to pick me up. Alicia didn't text. My daughter didn't appear. Holly showed up. My best friend, armed with a tote bag full of snacks and clean clothes. "You look like hell," she said softly. "Good. I'd hate to overdress." I muttered. She signed paperwork, grabbed my things, and practically held me upright as we walked. "We're picking her up, right?" Holly asked once we were in the car. "Oh, absolutely," I said. "I'm not waiting another minute." My parents' house looked exactly the same as always. Tidy lawn, ceramic frog by the porch, blinds tilted at that precise angle Mom swore prevented sun damage. but something felt off the second we stepped inside. My daughter stood in the hall, small and stiff, like she was trying not to take up space. When she saw me, she bolted forward and buried her face in my chest. She didn't just cry. She shook. I held her tight. Mom stood behind her, hands clasped like she was at a funeral. "Well," she said. "Good, you're up. It's been exhausting." Alicia, scrolling through her phone on the couch, smirked. "You have no idea." I ignored them. My daughter clung to me, refusing to let go even for a second. As we gathered her things, I asked gently, "Where's the kitten, sweetheart? Did they take care of her?" She froze, completely froze. "It's okay," she said, voice tiny. They kept me. That's what matters." "Kept her?" Before I could ask more, she squeezed me tighter, desperate for me not to. We left. Back home, Holly made tea while I tucked my daughter onto the couch with blankets and her favorite stuffed animal. All she did was hold onto my hand like she thought I'd slip away again. Then, out of nowhere, she whispered, "I'm glad I'm home and not in foster care." The air left my lungs. "What?" I asked gently. "Why would you say that?" "They said," her voice cracked. "They said if you didn't wake up, I might have to go somewhere else, because I'm difficult, and they don't have space for me." I felt something cold crawl up my spine. "And the kitten?" I whispered. Her eyes filled instantly. "They gave her away, to a shelter. They said if you can't take care of a kitten, I shouldn't have one I didn't want them to." I cried. They said crying makes things worse. I pulled her into my arms. When she finally slept, curled against me like she'd been holding her breath for days, I opened my banking app and checked the emergency account. The one meant for medical crises, childcare, food. 3 new transactions hit me like a slap. $310 at Ethereal Day Spa, $520 at Belle Noire Boutique. A store so expensive they don't even put price tags on things, $890 at Ocean Crest Hotel. A beach resort 2 towns over. All charged while I was unconscious, I stared at the screen and felt something cold settle behind my ribs. I called them. Mom answered immediately, sounding annoyed. "Michelle? We're kind of in the middle of something." "Yeah," I said. "I noticed. Ethereal Day Spa, Belle Noire, and a beach hotel?" A tiny pause. "Well," Mom said, "it's been a stressful week. We needed a break." I let out a quiet laugh. The dry, humorless kind that could sand wood. "You used my emergency fund to go get massages." Mom huffed. "It was an emergency. You were in a coma." Alicia cut in. "Honestly, Michelle, you act like we used it for nonsense." "Right," I said. "Because a beach resort is such a crucial part of crisis management?" Dad sighed in the background. His classic, "I don't like the tone of this conversation" sigh. "You should be grateful," he said. "We stepped up. We took care of your daughter while you couldn't." I swallowed hard. "You told my daughter she might go to foster care." Silence. Then Alicia said, "She takes things too literally." "And you gave away her kitten," I added, my voice low. Mom sniffed. "We didn't have space for an animal. You can't expect us to do everything." There it was. Not shouted, not dramatic. Just the quiet truth of exactly who they were and who they had always been. "I see," I said softly. And that was it. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I hung up. And very soon, they regretted everything. People always say childhood shapes you. If that's true, then mine shaped me like a piece of metal left in the rain. Slowly, quietly, without anyone noticing the corrosion until it was too late. On paper, my childhood looked normal. 2 parents, 1 sister, school lunches, birthday parties, Christmas photos with matching sweaters. Nothing dramatic. Nothing anyone would point at and say, "Ah, yes, trauma." But here's the thing. Sometimes the worst stuff is what no one else sees. Alicia was the favorite. Not officially. Mom and Dad would have sworn on their lives they treated us the same. But favoritism doesn't always come with neon signs. Sometimes it's just in the way they laugh a little harder at one child's jokes, or the way their eyes light up more when one child walks into a room. Alicia was their mini-me. Same hobbies, same taste, same worldview, same personality. If Mom liked pottery, Alicia liked pottery. If Dad got into hiking, Alicia suddenly needed hiking boots. Meanwhile, I liked different things. Books, ideas, creating, building. Apparently that was suspicious. The first time I mentioned wanting to start a small business when I grew up, I was 12. Dad chuckled like I'd told the world's funniest joke. "Michelle, sweetheart, you're a dreamer. Do something simple with your life. Something practical. A real job." That became his favorite chorus. Be practical. Translation: be less like yourself. I didn't push back. Not then. Instead, I learned to keep my ideas to myself. Or at least most of them. Some still slipped out. Like the time I suggested a little product idea that had popped into my head. A collapsible, leak-proof travel bag insert. A simple thing. Nothing groundbreaking, just practical enough that people might actually want it. Dad looked at me the way people look at toddlers explaining quantum physics. Alicia laughed and said, "You're still chasing these little inventions? Grow up, Michelle." But I kept tinkering anyway. I made prototypes in my living room. I watched tutorials. I failed. A lot. And then I didn't. A small influencer posted a video using one of my inserts. Orders exploded overnight. By the end of the month, I wasn't hand-stitching fabric on my couch. I was negotiating with manufacturers. By the end of the year, I had an actual store, then 2, then 8. Suddenly, my little ideas weren't ridiculous anymore. And my family, who had rolled their eyes at every attempt, suddenly discovered how much they loved being associated with a successful entrepreneur. When I paid off Mom and Dad's debts, they cried. When I retired them early, they said I was a blessing. When Alicia hinted about wanting a more comfortable life, I bought her things she could never afford. It felt good then. It felt fair. Like success meant sharing. And I did share. A lot. I didn't track every dollar, but looking back I should have, because now I know they did. Then came the diagnosis. One of those vague but terrifying medical conversations that ends with, "If you want a child, now is the time, not years from now." I was single. But I knew exactly what I wanted. A baby. A family of my own. A life to nurture, protect, and love with my whole heart. My parents hated the decision. "Why would you choose to be a single mother? You're going to ruin everything you built. You're finally getting ahead, and now you're throwing it away. What about the family? We depend on you." Alicia was worse. "Well, good job destroying your business, Michelle. Hope the kid is worth it." It was worth it. She was worth everything. From the moment I saw the ultrasound, I felt something snap into place. Something grounding, fierce, solid. When she was born, the rest of the world blurred. It was just me and her. Of course, motherhood meant I couldn't bankroll my family the way I used to. I still helped them, more than I should have, just not at the level that funded spa memberships and emergency vacations. They didn't take that well. Every time I said no, the temperature dropped. "Mom, you used to be generous." "Dad, you're tighter with money since you had that kid." Alicia, "Everything changed when she arrived." As if that was a flaw, when I got my daughter a kitten, her first real pet, her first little piece of comfort, the criticism started immediately. "You'll stress yourself out. You don't need more responsibility. You should be focusing on your company. We used to have such a good lifestyle when you were smart about money." Good lifestyle. Smart about money. Those lines make sense only when someone sees you as a bank, not a daughter. Still, I didn't see it. Not fully. Not until I was lying in a hospital bed with pain in my ribs and no one by my side. Not until my daughter whispered the word foster care. Not until I realized they'd given away her kitten, the one light she had. While I was unconscious, not until every puzzle piece from my childhood suddenly lined up and formed a pattern I had refused to look at for years. They didn't resent the kitten. They resented my daughter because she changed where my money went. They didn't worry about me in the hospital. They worried about what my absence meant for them. They didn't help me out of love. They helped me because my success made their lives comfortable. And when I stopped providing, they didn't step up. They didn't care. They didn't even pretend. That's when I finally saw the truth. I had built their entire world, and now I was about to take it back because everything they'd taken for granted was about to collapse, and I was the one pulling the first brick. I woke up the next morning feeling like my bones had been glued together wrong. Holly forced me to eat something that tasted like sadness and reheated broth, then sat beside me while I finally opened my laptop. "You ready?" she asked. "No," I said. "But let's pretend I am." Lucas Parr, my financial consultant, joined via video call. Cheerful in that accountant with a good salary way, Angela Whitfield, my lawyer, joined shortly after. Both looked like they were about to perform an autopsy on my life. Angela got right to it. "You said you want to cut off all financial support. We need to know exactly what your parents and Alicia are using." "Everything," I said, rubbing my face. "Just pull everything." "Well," Lucas said, flipping through a PDF, "we can't pull what we don't control, so let's review what's actually in your name." He shared his screen. And that's when the world tilted. The first document was the apartment my parents lived in, the one I'd given them years ago. It said, "Owner, Michelle Donovan." I blinked. "Oh, right, guess I kept it under my name." Holly raised an eyebrow. "You guess?" I shrugged weakly. "It saved a ton on gift tax, and I wasn't planning to take it back, so I didn't think it mattered. Mom never reads contracts anyway. She thinks terms and conditions are a conspiracy." Angela nodded. "What about the SUV they use?" "Mine," I said. "Insurance, title, everything." "And the cabin rental they brag about on Facebook?" "That lease is under my company," I admitted. "They think it's their cabin. It's not." Lucas scrolled. "Their club membership, too. It's linked to your business expense account." Holly let out a slow whistle. "Wow. They're about to learn how much your generosity was doing the heavy lifting." "More like life support," I muttered. The hype wasn't in the documents. It was in the pit of my stomach, slowly sinking as I realized. They had built their entire lifestyle on things I owned and assumed were theirs. And now, for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to let them. "Pull access," I said. "Everything. Change locks, passwords, cards. Whatever you have to do." Lucas nodded. "Done." Angela added, "I'll draft the eviction notice today. They'll have 30 days. It didn't feel victorious. It felt necessary. After Lucas and Angela left the video call, I sat there for a moment staring at the closed laptop. Then my daughter walked past, dragging her blanket, kitten toy tucked under her arm. Right. Retaliation was necessary, but it wasn't the priority. The kitten was. I grabbed my phone and started calling shelters. The first 5 were a string of polite dead ends. The 6th one gave me something real. "Yes, we received a kitten by that description," the woman said. "But she has already been matched with an adopter. And no, we cannot reverse a surrender. My parents surrendered her without my consent," I said. "I was in the hospital." "We hear that a lot," she replied flatly. "The kitten now legally belongs to the shelter. The adopter is picking her up later today." "So there's nothing I can do?" "There's nothing we will do," she corrected. "I'm sorry." I wasn't. I was furious. I hung up, grabbed my keys, and told Holly, "Watch her. I need to fix something." She didn't ask what. She just nodded like she understood exactly how dangerous I felt. The shelter was a squat brick building tucked between warehouses. Inside, everything smelled like bleach, steel bowls, and resignation. The woman at the desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "You spoke to me on the phone," I said. "I'm here about the kitten." Her eyebrows lifted slightly, not kindly. "You can tell me whatever you didn't get to say." So I did. I told her about the crash. The 3 unconscious days, my daughter shaking in my arms, the foster care threat. The kitten being taken as punishment, the damage they'd done in less than a week. I didn't raise my voice. Sometimes quiet is louder. She rubbed the bridge of her nose. Look, I get it, I do. But surrenders are final. We can't let people take animals back because they regret it later. This isn't regret, I said. This is my daughter's emotional support animal, and someone stole her. She winced. Not sympathy, just a reaction to the word stole. I leaned in. Please, tell me what I have to do. She hesitated. Then, I'll ask the supervisor. No promises. She left me standing there in the lobby, wringing the handle of my purse like it was a lifeline. When she returned, she held a carrier. I shouldn't be doing this, she said. But the adopter agreed to let her go. They heard the story. I swallowed hard. Thank you. She handed me the carrier like it was fragile. Just take care of her, she said. I will, I whispered. When I peeked in and saw that tiny face, confused, hopeful, something inside me cracked open. I drove home faster than I should have. My daughter was sitting on the couch, knees pulled to her chest. She looked up as I came in. When I placed the carrier in front of her, she froze. Then she opened it with trembling hands. Mommy? She whispered. The kitten crawled into her lap like nothing had ever gone wrong. She buried her face in its fur and sobbed, relief pouring out of her in quiet waves. I sat beside her and wrapped an arm around both of them. For the first time in days, she wasn't tense. She was just a kid holding her kitten. By the next afternoon, the emails arrived. All access revoked eviction notice delivered. Alicia's termination sent. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt like oxygen. A day passed quietly. My daughter followed the kitten everywhere. Holly kept the house warm. I kept waiting for the storm. It hit that evening. My phone lit up with 9 missed calls. Mom, Dad, Alicia, blocked numbers, new numbers. When I finally answered once, all 3 voices crashed through at once. Michelle, what are you doing? You fired me? You're evicting us? We sacrificed everything. I waited until they ran out of breath. You threatened my daughter with foster care, I said. You gave away her kitten. You spent my emergency fund on vacations. And you expect gratitude? Silence. Then Mom tried, voice breaking. We're your family? No, I said. My daughter is my family. You made your choices. Now live with them. And I hung up. Their collapse had begun. For almost a week, everything was quiet. Too quiet. No calls, no emails, no pounding on my door. Just my daughter, her kitten, and Holly making sure I ate something other than adrenaline. I thought maybe that was it. Maybe cutting them off was enough. Maybe we could finally breathe. Then my phone rang. Not a blocked number. Not one of theirs, Kira Nolan. My company's publicist. She didn't call unless something was very wrong. When I picked up, she didn't bother with hello. Michelle, she said tightly. Are you alone? My stomach dropped. Yes. Why? You need to see something. Her voice cracked, a first for her. Your parents talked to a journalist. A cold heaviness settled in my chest. How bad? A pause. And then, bad. I opened my laptop while she talked, and there it was. My face, my name, my company, all wrapped in a headline claiming I had abandoned my elderly parents and left my grateful sister to care for my child. Not a single word about the crash. Not a single word about the foster care threat. Not a single word about the kitten they dumped like trash. Just lies. Lies polished into a sympathy opera. Kira exhaled. Michelle, this is blowing up. We need to respond now. I know, I said. Where's Angela? On another line preparing statements. I closed my eyes. The awful irony hit me. They couldn't call me from the hospital when I almost died. But they could call a journalist. Minutes later, Angela Whitfield, my lawyer, was on the phone too. This qualifies as defamation, she said. We're filing today. And the public response? I asked. Already drafting? Kira said. And Michelle? We're including receipts. They did more than include them. They totaled everything. They did more than include them. They totaled everything. The luxury apartment my parents lived in rent-free for 9 years. The SUV Alicia treated like her birthright. The $12,000 club membership linked to my business card. The family trips I paid for, $4,500 here, $6,200 there. The holidays, the upgrades, the emergencies that somehow always involved restaurants or retail. By the time Kira finished adding the numbers, the total sat at $874,000. I stared at it, stunned. I didn't realize it was that much. You didn't track it, Angela said gently. But we did. And then she filed 3 lawsuits. 1 defamation against the publication. 2 defamation against my parents and Alicia. 3 unauthorized use of funds for draining my emergency account while I was hospitalized. No theatrics, no screaming, just paperwork sharp enough to cut arteries. Kira released our statement publicly, attached with dates, receipts, and enough documentation to make a forensic accountant weep. It wasn't emotional, just factual. And the truth hit harder than any rant ever could. For the rest of the day, nothing happened. My daughter played on the living room rug, Kitten swatting at her shoelaces, Holly reheated leftovers and kept giving me the "Are you actually okay?" eyes. And for a moment, a tiny one, life felt almost normal. Then the fallout began. My phone lit up with unknown numbers, then new numbers, then blocked ones, then texts from numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored every single one. By early evening, 1 call slipped through, an unlisted number. I answered. All 3 voices erupted at once. "Michelle, please! They're suing us. The article money. They want it back. We can't afford lawyers. We're being evicted. This is ruining us." I let them spiral until they ran out of oxygen. Then Mom said, voice shaking, "We didn't know everything was in your name. We thought it was ours." I laughed once, dry, edged. "Yes, that was the problem," Alicia snapped. "You should have told us. You should have read," I said. Dad tried the sympathy card. "We took care of your daughter while you were in the hospital." "For 6 days," I cut in, "and you threatened her with foster care." Silence. Heavy. Embarrassed. Not remorseful. Just caught. "You dumped her kitten into a shelter," I added, "then spent my emergency fund on spas and resorts." Mom's voice cracked. "We're desperate, Michelle. We don't have the money to fix this. Please call off the lawsuits." I closed my eyes. "I gave you almost $900,000, I said softly. "And you repaid me by terrifying my child." A beat. A breath. Alicia tried again. "Just give us one more chance." Something inside me settled. Quiet. Final. "I gave you a lifetime." I hung up. I walked back into the living room where my daughter sat curled on the couch, Kitten asleep on her lap, safe in a way she hadn't been for days. I sat beside her and realized I wasn't bracing for impact anymore. The storm had passed. We were okay. 6 months later, the silence in my life feels like oxygen. My daughter sleeps through the night again. The kitten has doubled in size and follows her like a tiny shadow. And without the constant drip of my family's criticism in her ears, she's lighter, brighter, herself. I didn't realize how much space their negativity took up until it was gone. My finances look different too. Turns out not funding 3 adults' lifestyles makes a noticeable difference. I actually have savings now, not just receipts. As for them, the fall was brutal. Losing the apartment, the car, the club membership, all the little luxuries they treated as rights. They ended up in a cramped rental 2 towns over, juggling debt collectors and temp jobs. Their old social circle evaporated the second the money did. Funny how loyalty works like that. And the peace that followed? Worth more than anything I ever gave them. So what do you think? Did I go too far? Or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.